ideology, and they have their own agenda, and then try to educate their people with their agenda, right? And just think about the communist countries different from the democratic countries, and what if, and then if you go, even though inside, among the Christianity, its education is totally different. So if you, I don't know whether you guys heard about the sect and cult, and they have their own agenda and purpose of their belief, and then try to educate in the way that they really want to mold the people's mind. And if you go to a conservative church, and then they have their own way, the principles, and maybe methodology is different, but the purpose of education is clear. If you go to liberal church, and they have their own, they have their own interpretation and directions, and based on that one, they teach, they preach, right? That's why philosophy is really important. And how can you write your philosophy? As an educator, maybe you don't have, you are not going to be a teacher, maybe you are not going to be and professor and whatever, and then maybe we have a lot of chance if you go to church, and then to teach others, and maybe Sunday school and junior high school and college and small group, and a lot of different settings available to get involved in education. And before you start, and then just have you thought about why you guys and before you start, then you got to think about why I want to teach, what I want to teach, right? And here is some guideline before you teach, and how can you formulate the philosophy of education. And like me, I'm a pastor, but still I don't preach a lot at church, but I try to mentor the people a lot, and I try to really want to engage in education, right? But philosophy is kind of reflect of what I'm thinking or where I'm going to. That's why it's really important. And then I have maybe in your note, and then there is kind of I put the website that provide the information. So I adapted it their way. So before you write down your philosophy of education, and first of all, you got to think about what is the purpose of teaching. Why you really want to carry out, accomplish it through the teaching. That's you got to think about it. And just think about why do you want to teach. Personally, I came here a year ago, and then there is a way that I'm willing to start to teach here. Not just for the lecture, not just for money, not just for the experience, and then there is a reason though. Because I want to meet the people from different countries and different cultures. And my friend told me that, and he kind of used to teach here, and then he gave me kind of information, so I willing to come to here. But because of a pandemic, and then I never seen you guys. That's a kind of a struggling. And I want to talk, and then I want to talk about life. That's my purpose. And if you are interested, and then I'm willing to share what I believe. That's why I'm here. But maybe, so far maybe I kind of fulfilling about 50% of my goal because of just coming here and talk to nobody in the class and kind of I also know you guys are listening, but still it's hard. Just think about why do you want to teach and why do you choose to teach elementary, secondary, or particular content of area, like maybe relate to the school and junior high school, maybe college, maybe, and certain area relate to your job, like if you are at church and then there is a lot of things available, and then you could lead a small group and specific different, maybe there's different topics, right? And why do you choose? Why do you choose? Why have you chosen the teaching in the area? Just think about it, because people are really different. And when I was 30s, and then my really I like to teach was a college level. Yeah, at the time I was getting involved in ministry at college ministry, young adult ministry. So it was really good to me, and it's easy to communicate with them. But it's really hard to communicate elementary kids and then use junior high school kids. So I always told others, oh, that is not my area. So I really prefer teaching young adult and college. Older people is pretty different for me, because think about my generation is how different from the older generation is, and pretty open to other, but still open to other ideologies, but still I have my own, right? And another thing is what are your values as a teacher? It's very important. What's your values? Maybe a lot of people, that's my job, and I need to make a living, so I gotta come, and maybe I teach in this level because I need experience, and I'm gonna go to the other level. But if you really if you teach at church, and then I like the kids, and I wanna see them growing, and I wanna help them growing. Kind of their attitudes and reflects your values, right? I already told you why I'm here. That's the purpose of the teaching, and why you want to teach. And think about what's your value as a teacher, and then why have you chosen to teach in certain area? And you gotta consider another things. What is the foundation of education? And this one is the basic one, and then think about another thing. It's the foundation of education. And what philosophy education do you most align with? Why? Do you remember the philosophy? And I just here is a philosophy, and idealism, and realism, and pragmatism, and existentialism. There's a kind of philosophies there. Depends on the philosophy, whereas the educational philosophy is a little bit changed based on the philosophy, and then perennialism, and essentialism, and progressivism, and reconstructism. We talked about last week, and then what kind of philosophy do you have? Thinking about. Maybe if you teach the skills, maybe you can take the pragmatism, right? If you thinking about better society, and then you're gonna thinking about what? idealism and perennialism. So if you are thinking about human being itself, and then maybe existentialism and reconstructionism in education. Yeah, it depends on what philosophy you guys have, right? Yeah, why? There's always questions why. And another question, how has education changed historically in 50 and 60 years, the last 50, 60 years? Just think about it, how society is changing, or where are you at, and what do you want to do? Why? Remember, the society has been, has kept changing and changing and changing. Even my daughter, she said she's in 1997, 8, and then she said even though there is 2 year difference, and then she said she said she cannot understand about 2000. You're born in 2000 years. They are different. And just think about what impact you can give the people, what impact you can contribute to society and movement like this, and schools. What can you contribute as an educator? Look at the American society, and which is really polarized, and I don't know how many of you guys have received the emails. It depends on your party. How many emails you got every day? Yeah, they are talking about political, why they doing, so we gotta do this one and that one like this, right? And just think about what impact you can give them, give a student. And another thing is think about the education policies, especially there's a lot of sensitive issues nowadays, like NCLB. You know what is NCLB? No child left behind in your education. And it means that they need equal opportunity and to be taught, to learn, right? So there is a standard, and you gotta follow the policies. And what about the standardized testing movement? We gotta do it or not? And maybe a lot of educators kind of against that one, but some of them favor it. Not favor, we gotta accept it. But so what is the policy, school policy and government policy? You gotta know that. And what about nowadays, and like now, if you are in Korea and if you are in China, if you are in your country, maybe if you are in Korea, and when I was in Korea, diversity was not the issue, right? They are really monocultural people. It's hard to accept their difference. But nowadays it's a lot of change though. Just think about your setting, who's gonna be your student, future student, and what kind of people are coming to your class. So you gotta think about the basic foundation of your education philosophy and their background and history, how it changed the education, and then what about the specific policy from government from the schools, and they have different things, right? And basic policy that even though they are private school, there's a basic policy they have to follow, and then even though they have room for their own things, like private school. So we got to think about how it's reflect the current trend of society. And another thing is that your understanding of teaching and learning, and think about it and what approach and method and pedagogy do you use, and why, how are these influenced by the philosophy you most align with. Okay, it's a part of you gotta think about the basic philosophy, what methodology, what approach. And approach means it's a little bit different, right? Methodology, how. And so which element of effective instruction do you think are most important to apply to support all student learning? Which element of effect instruction? So what strategy do you apply to actively engage in all students through the lesson? Okay, how do you motivate your student to learn, and how do you motivate yourself to be the teacher your student needs you to be? Think about who you are. Think about who you are as a teacher. Think about who student are as a student, right? The learner, right? We will understand. And what about the classroom environment? And maybe traditional education, like rote education. There's teachers here and teach them the knowledge and what they memorize and test. Rote memory education, but nowadays it's a little bit different. And then society change, and they think about what's a different way. And methodology is different, right? We're gonna talk about later a little, but just think about classroom environment. How do you create a community of learners working together as a student, not to compete one another? So if you go to public school like a college, and they have to compete because there is a the curve is there. Depends on the school policy, and curve is top is like a 5% A and 10% B, and like they curve, right? And what is your code of conduct? What dress they have to wear, and how they need to behave in the classroom like this, and then how do you engage students to limit disruption and take off tasks? Maybe if you go to kindergarten class and they don't know and they talk to each other, maybe somehow, I don't know, you guys when you come to class and what is your attitude, and then sometimes they doing different things. Maybe they do homework, and then they watch them from YouTube and during the class, and maybe how can you deal with all kind of disruptions? What about how so if a disruption do occur, how do you deal with it like this? Because this environment is really important that can accomplish your philosophy of education. I mean that help the student to learn and then what. There is kind of a level that you can help them to get there, right? What about the inclusiveness? And do you understand your own bias and how this impact your teaching? It's really important. And I still remember my kid said that she wants to get attention from teacher when she was in kindergarten, but she didn't get much attention from teacher, and then something happened. And one day teacher said that there's a lot of smart kids out there, and I know, but it's okay. My kids are one of the ordinaries. I'm okay with that one. So what? So maybe there is a tendency for teachers who willing to teach more, teaching more for for the student who are really smart. I don't care about that one. Maybe there is a desire, more desire has it. Maybe they wanna, not the kindergarten kids, but if you are really high school and college, and maybe if you really wanna more, they really want to know more, and then if they don't know and come to teacher and ask for help, maybe it's different. But basically, what is your own bias? Any racial bias? Any cultural bias? Right? And how are you effective with all students? It's impossible. Well, how can you try? And how do you create a culturally responsible classroom environment? How can you adopt different cultures? If you go to, it's like my area, it's like really Asian populations family, Indians and Chinese and Koreans. So during the lunchtime, and I don't know whether you guys have thought about it, but they bring kimchi and then share the kimchi together with their friends. It's outside, usually they eat outside, they try to smell is, it doesn't involve a lot, but still. So how do you teach unconditionally so all your students get the best education possible? And you demonstrate respect for the customs and belief of the diverse student groups represented in your classroom, right? Sometimes because of their religion, they had something like you need a hijab for the Muslims, right? And maybe if you're sick, and then I don't know, little kids sometimes they wear the turban, they made it, and then some of them I can see, but not everybody, right? So what specific strategy do you use to support the diverse learners, and in what way do you act as an advocate for your student, your family, and community? So you gotta consider all things, right? And like how can you kind of accept the difference? How can you create classroom environment, and who you are and who are your students? And you gotta think about basic things, right? And then you can all put together and all put together and then jot out here and there. Maybe mind map and any kind of thing is needed time to process, and how can you put together? That's a philosophy, educational philosophy here. And then we already talk about aim is there and goal is there and objective is there. It's very specific, right? Just think about big umbrella as a philosophy. Or we're gonna pursue this in education, and then what is the aim? Maybe there is a specific aims, and then what? And there is a goal behind this. To carry out the aim, then there is a specific what? Goals. how can you achieve your goals, and there is a specific objectives, right? Class objectives. Yeah, there is a kind of spend time. Yeah, it is spend time to write down your philosophy education with this in sincerity. Last week, I want to have a quick review, and then we had learning theory, and there is usually 3, 4 depends on how, and then behaviorism and constructionism and carbonism and what's essentialism, existentialism. But here is andragogy. The andragogy is it's not it's adult education. It's not kids education. A little bit different, but we didn't talk about that part. And then I hope that you remember what is behaviorism, right? There is conditioning and respond and reinforce, right? Punishment like this, and then and cognitivism is a process of your mind, and then learn one by one. And what about the constructivism? You had experience and all put together, and you have your own things. I hope that you remember the diagram that I showed. There's basic, but there's a lot of different ways. It's a specific one, but if you categorize, and most educate the method is going to fall into the three the big theories. Today I want to talk about curriculum, and we had philosophy of educations, right? And then there is a specific aims and specific goals, and then specific objects, and then how can you achieve this all our purpose that we really want to achieve, right? And we need a way to accomplish. There is one of them is curriculum. Curriculum is kind of related to what material you guys provide, right? That is a curriculum. And then here is what is a curriculum? Sometimes we don't know, and you just follow the course already set. When you go to college, and sometimes, and it's not a high school, and when you are in high school, and there is not many elective classes, and then maybe I never had elective in my public education until high school. But when you go to college, there is a few elective, it's not that many, right? There is a requirement class for your majors, and there is kind of a general education. That's what you have to do. But there is a room to select the classes, and then there is a foundational class and requirement class, and then there's even though that's your related major, but there is selected classes like this already set. It means that they have education, philosophy, and they lay out all things already, and then we just took the class sometimes. And sometimes there is a class that you cannot take this class because that's another level. And like when I came here, and when I was in junior college, and they said I took the English, ESL English class, and another level is English class, and what's 100 is a college freshman class who born here, and 51 class, and 50.1 class, 50.2 class, 50.3 class. Almost I took 4 years for English class, writing, before people go into the college level English class because I was foreigner. But still hard. Writing is really, really hard. And yeah, so you cannot jump in if you don't take 50.1 and then you cannot go to 50.2. So there is a sequences. Because if you don't skip the one, it's hard. You understand this material, and then you can it's hard to expand your knowledge and learning. That's why curriculum is a set all things to kind of for the experience education. Here is the definition. Maybe a little bit different depends on the scholars and dictionaries, and then here is I to two, and here is, and then from the schools and government or schools and curriculum is a standard-based sequence of planned experience. Sequences of planned experience. Okay, first grade and second grade, that's primary education, and there's level is there, but it has sequence, and it's really basic and intermediate and advanced like this, and where students practice and achieve proficiency in content and applied learning skills. That's a curriculum. And so curriculum is kind of a central guide for the all educators. And sometimes, at least if you are at school and as like a college level, your primary is a little bit different, but college level, and even though it's a secondary school like high school, junior high school, and then there is related to the majors and specifically, and then they have to teach the maybe first grade, freshman and junior and sophomore is a different level, but they know. But if you are teaching the primary school, it's totally different, right? Sometimes there is no major, and then they learn everything. They learn how to teach. That's primary education. Yeah, that's why. But basic principle, I think it's a little bit similar and same. And even though the students are different, but basic, as a teacher, as a learner, and you gotta consider the principle that we are talking about. And actually, so before you start it, and then maybe secondary or college young adult education is a little bit different, right? They more specified and really specialty oriented. And so usually if you go to college, and there's a lot of different subjects, but there's their own specialties. Like me, and then if I major in intercultural studies and cultural studies and anthropology, and I can teach the related class, but it's not easy to teach. It's a totally different class that I studied, right? And it's hard to find the common things, and then there is something you can willing to link and make it relevant without, but still it's not easy though. So that is kind of if you see if you go to college, I don't know, elementary and primary is kind of already set, right? But I remember I started college here when I was 30, and then I went to school, and then I met a counselor, and then we sat together, we talked, and then understand my background and how can we start off, and then she recommended she make a big chart. How can you take a class? And first year, and second year, and third year, and there's a roadmap is there. That is roadmap for me. And sometimes if you go to like a postgraduate school and graduate school and different, you gotta figure it out. What class you can do it, right? You have to make your own roadmap. It's not a different, it's not different, it's different from the primary, secondary, and college education. So it guides what teachers really teach and students, right? That is the kind of the curriculum. So curriculum must include necessary goals, and method and material and assessment. Curriculum. Not just, okay, this is class I'm teaching. No, I know this is class you're teaching, but what is the between? What is the before and what was before the class, and what is the next class, and what's your role? And then think about it in whole sequences, and then what is the necessary goals? Why do we teach this class? What is the goal? What is the design goal? Right? I went to my daughter's graduation, and that's a master classes, and then in Boston, and I never heard a lot of majors. Oh, wow! I just I dropped my jaw down, and then, huh? What are they studying? It seems like there's overlap with this major. What is the difference like this? But there is a specific their goals, and then really focus on what's the method, and then So assessment, support, instruction, and learning. That is our curriculum. So we gotta remember that one. And the curriculum, another definition is the school, and that is a frame that set expectation for student learning. So same, right? And it serves as a guide for the teachers, roadmap for you will, and then establish standard for student performance and teacher accountability. So, okay, you gotta learn this level this much at least, and then if you get a C, and it's satisfactory, and then you pass the class. If you got a D, and you gotta take again. You fail, you gotta take again. Like this. There is kind of maybe some school, even though you get a D and you don't have to replace, and then kind of you're gonna get what? Academic probation. And kind of warning, That is and so curriculum is a group of the courses offered in particular field of study, right? And that is a curriculum. And then, but elementary is already government's already kind of schools, and they had kind of basic policies, and then they set, right? There, even though every district has their own room, but still. They are a little bit different. So what types of curriculums? And here is Fenwick English, Dr. Fenwick English, and he said he believes that there are 3 types of curriculum. So written curriculum, and taught curriculum, and tested curriculum. But depends on which kind perspective you have, and some of them they put 3 and 4, and some of them expand in 7. But ultimately, you could see what is the difference and what is the same. And here it is, the Bendix, and but here is another types of the curriculums, and here is 4 types of curriculums. And what is the 4 types of curriculums? Explicit and curriculum, and implicit curriculum, and null curriculum, and extra curriculum. What's the explicit curriculum? The subject will be taught, and then knowledge and skill that what the school expect successful student to acquire. That's definitely. Or you gotta achieve this level, and then at least plus C level like this. If you take a test, and then that's weighted how much you learn, and then at least you gotta get a C like this, explicit. And there's a clear goals and clear objective in class, and then and there's like a written curriculum, right? What about the implicit curriculum? Implicit, the lessons arise from the culture of school and behavior, attitude, and expectation that characterize the cultures. And it's kind of behind the culture, so you don't see, right? Just think about, can you see your behavior? Maybe your behavior really responsive is different. And teacher was just, it's not the responsive and just talk like me. And then there is kind of, it's not an effective class, right? And attitude and expectations, and then it's not clear but influenced by learning. That's explicit curriculums. But sometimes you gotta think about that one too, explicit and hidden. Like sometimes hidden and expletive, is split. Implicit. What about null curriculum? The curriculum is that it's not, there's not a part of the curriculum, but it comes. Just think about, I'm teaching the curriculum about that one, but sometimes we talk about curriculum, and then it goes on the policy of government education policy, and we discuss about in the class. That's a null. There is no kind of content. There is no any the curriculum, but still, in your kind of group discussion and then talk, kind of more general, more specific, and there's a kind of null curriculum. So the options the student want are afforded, right? And that's kind of a null curriculum, right? Null curriculum. So students don't have a chance, and then no opportunity to learn, but somehow it comes to their classroom. What about the implicit curriculum? We already talked, and this one is kind of intended, and this one totally not intended. So there's a difference there. Hidden curriculum and implicit curriculum is there, almost same, and that's the difference. What is the extracurriculars? Extracurricular is like same. So you guys, and then just think about how can help the student achieve this level, standard level of education, learning, and then It's not just classroom work, and you can take them to field trip. I don't know whether you guys field trip, and then they go to the science museum and other places to see, right? That's extracurricular and for the education. And there's depends on the class, and then they have think about teachers should think about what kind of extra curriculum is needed, because extra curriculum makes more effective in learning. So just think about PE classes, and then students are really involved in different sports, right? And different activities at schools. And there is the 4 types of a curriculum, and there is 8 types and 7 types of curriculums, and maybe some are the overlapped with the 4 types, and then we're gonna review we're gonna see the types of curriculums. And here is a written curriculum. Written curriculum is explicit curriculum. So written curriculum is what is formally put down in writing and documented for teachings. Okay? If you get hired as a teacher, and there's a lot of written things like this, and then when I prepare a class and school send me what's the syllabus and what's the purpose of it, they explain what's the school, what is the school, and what's the class of the and then what's this class is purpose, and what outcome you guys are expecting, and description, and what's the schedule like this, right? It's clearly written, and you see the class, what is the aim for, right? And what is the taught class? This is how teacher actually teach. Taught curriculum and depends on teachers. It's not, sometimes it's not organized, and they come in here and already, even though they have a certain topic they have to teach, but still it's a lot of flexibility in in classroom. So teacher has flexibility though. This is a less predictable and less standardized type of curriculum, because how an educator delivers material can vary from one to next, right? So there's a deliverance different, and then also changes based on the types of the tool, and teacher has their own, their kind of personality. Depends on the teacher, right? It's a different curriculums. What about what about assess the curriculum? Assess the curriculum is what happened? Keep downing. I hope it's okay. Yeah. Another curriculum is supported curriculum. Supported curriculum is involving additional tools, resources, and learning experience found in outside the classroom. So how can you it's a little bit extra curriculums and maybe you could, this one is kind of includes textbook and field trip and software and the technology, and maybe it depends on the class. But when you think about the curriculum is here's the whole things is here, but we just kind of category make specified, and this is a written curriculum and this is extra curriculum, this is a taught curriculum. But actually, when you learn the class, we need all of them, right? But little bit categorized and different aspect of the curriculum. What about the assessed curriculum? Assessed curriculum is the what? Tested curriculum is like, okay, how much student learned? If we don't take a test, then we don't know. Maybe when you discuss in the classroom about certain topic and student raise their hand and they taught, and we couldn't see how much they understand, but not everybody participate very actively. Some of them, even though it's really introvert, and even though they know very well, and then they don't want to talk to in front of people. What about extrovert? Extrovert, we can see what he said and how much he understands, and we can know that one. But depends on the personality, and sometimes, and even though they are extrovert, they don't learn anything, and but they cannot say anything like this. That's why there is a test and other kind of a method to measure student learning. So maybe this one is it's a lot of different way to measure the learning. For instance, sometimes midterm and final and cumulative final and quiz and papers, and there's a lot of different ways that we can measure the students' abilities, how much, not ability, how much they learned. What about recommended curriculum? Recommended curriculum is also to think about what experts suggest, right? Sometimes, and you're not an expert, and to think about I study intercultural studies and interrelated cultural psychology, cultural anthropology, and but who had more experience and who had more kind of authority in the area, and then maybe I know that is good, but still, why do you think about this? Why provide this one, and then just a recommendation. There's an expert for primary education and secondary education, and who study more and who still research about that one, and there's a lot of different ways. Now connection is not good. If I step on the the cable, and step on the cable, it change. There is a hidden curriculum, like an implicit curriculum. So we already talked about that. Curriculum is not planned, but it is the significant impact on what students learn. This type of curriculum is not always communicated formally written down, and that one is a little bit different from the maybe connection is not good, right? Maybe it's not easy to do that, and So this hidden curriculum is kind of challenging the student yeah, kind of cultural background and ethnic background and educational background and family background. So and so it can the hidden curriculum can also influenced by how yeah money, time, and resources are allocated with the school or school district. Depends on level. So okay, there's a lot of different things, but depends on budget and depends on times and resources as a kid. Let me see. Start again. Here's another type of curriculum, excluded curriculum. Excluded curriculum is no curriculum. So yeah, we already talked about that one. Yeah, yeah. Open educator, curriculum specialists believe there are certain skills and concepts are less important. That does not need to be covered, but sometimes what's intentionally left out and intentionally but still shape the student learning. What about learned curriculum? Can we experience the curriculum? Yeah, it's another same word. Learned curriculum is about one student to walk away from the classroom. It's like extra curriculum is similar, and this includes what subject matter or knowledge they learn from a course, but it can be included additional change, attitude, emotional well-being, and then who can go to other place, and then field trip, and they can get involved in any other clubs like this and volunteering. But one thing we gotta know that was learned curriculum is that was learn, observe, make sense of the as a real interaction with the teacher and class fellow or the institutions. So it includes knowledge and attitude and skills acquired by the student, and then that itself, it's not just happen in the classroom. But sometimes outside the classroom it happens, learning happens. But sometimes it depends on the learning style. We already learned that, and some of them really doing well with the curriculum, like learn kind of participating and kind of experience learning, and then you gotta it's easy to learn. Some of them is kind of auditory, some of them visual, and some of them logic and papers, and some of them is kind of still you gotta touch and make and participate like this. This one is kind of participate and feel and to learn. So when you design the curriculum, and just think about all different 8 curriculums, and then just a B curriculum is here, right? How can you put all together? Maybe you can simplify it, and you can use the extended curriculum, but how can we? When you design the curriculum, we need to put all together, right? So it doesn't matter the terminology, terms, but still it's kind of holistic and not just partial. And my education is really focused on the written curriculum. And just think about if you go to other countries really poor, and then they don't have much resources, and they don't have a lot of any opportunities, and then they just a teacher coming in and write down something, and based on what they teach, each grade levels, right? And if you go to church, it's the same kind of education happens because they learn. It's hard to be creative if they don't have any influence from outside. So depends on what kind of education, what kind of education you wanna do, and we teach, and then just think about how can you develop, how you develop the curriculum. And there is I brought the two things, and then there is and Sean, George Mohan, and there is a kind of 5 steps to develop the curriculum. And then first of all is a kind of what is the missions and philosophies and what you want to do through education, and aims and objectives. Yeah, we already talked about that. What is that one? Keep that in mind. And after that, and what kind of skill and knowledge is you can use it. And there is a specific way that you gotta do, and I'm gonna take out this one because keep being problematic. And then second step is what kind of content. Okay, for them, what you need, what kind of skills, what kind of knowledge is. And that one is knowledge and skills mixed, and then design the whole guideline, right? And then just mix together, and then you can use a lot of different curriculums. And then also the course development. Okay, if you study math, if you study English, if you study computer and science, and then they put all together and make a course. And then after that, you gotta run the course. And what's the hard things, what's the easy things, what's the, in this level is too hard and necessary, it's not necessary in this level. And then you gotta adjust, and evaluations there. And what is the students and the basic kind of learning outcome. And then go back. So our mission, our philosophy, and our kind of objectives, and then is achieved by this education, this course, curriculum. Just think about, sometimes it's not relevant to students, and then even though they sit in the classroom and they don't have any cognitive gain, and they don't have any skill learned, they don't learn any skills, and then what happened? Education is not effective. There is a basic one. What about another one? It was a course 6 step, and this one is kind of a professional setting, like a medical student. And there is, and education is he said a little bit different. Because it's based on the problem solving. It's not a traditional styles, and this is for the 6 step classes, and I already told you for medical students. And then problem identification and general need assessment. Okay, what is the problem? The patient is coming in, and then how can you assess, right? That is the first step. And nowadays they run the programs, it's a lot like this way. It's not giving them basic whole things and people they do, and then they pick the specific one, and then they discuss and they learn, right? That's the first step. And the second step is what? need accessible targeted learners. How can you target what is their need? You can see them, what they know, what they don't know, right? What can they do, what can they do, right? And what is the goal and specific objectivity? From this one, and then there is a specific object is there. What is the object? And then he said, what is the educational strategy? And how can provide education to them? What's the effective way? What's the rigorous way, right? What's the strategy? And then implementation. So you gotta implement this curriculum in the setting. And evaluation and feedback. And just do, and then you can get a feedback from the student, you can feedback from other professor, and evaluate. Those are the 6 steps. Current is for the medical student. Here is some idea about curriculum development process, and there is 4 phases, and then first I'm preparing to the process. Why you need to prepare, and review school-based decision-making policy. Okay. What is the school's policy? And the school's policy is usually based under the government policy of education, right? That's a review before you start. And establish a curriculum review cycle. Okay? Review cycle. How can you review the curriculum? Every year, every 2 years, and like this. What about develop a timeline? Okay, just develop the timeline, and maybe 6 months, 1 year. Why? Maybe we can get some good program from other schools, and we can see their program, and then our education goal is like this, and how can you maybe you can see and what's good, what's not good, and then make your own things, and then how long will I take to make? From the scratch, it's really hard. It's a long time. So determine the budget, how much I'm going to spend for the whole curriculum. Who are there? And how much you're going to pay for it, and all kind of stuff, right? Think about budget, and what about the create a curriculum development committees? Who are in, who are not in, right? Maybe just think about it in primary education. Someone is really expert. What is visual art, visual education, and art education, and some of the physical education, and math, and literature, and science, and different. But if you go to college education, and adult education is a different from college education, and then there's a lot of different areas related to the one major, right? How can you work with the other department, and then what kind of professor we need for this curriculum, all kind of stuff, right? And create create curriculum development committees, and then they can work together and review. And then second phase, and articulate a program philosophy. Philosophy is very important, right? And analyze research to develop a shared understanding of evidence-based practice. Evidence-based practice, not just the idea that you're following and just think about, if you have an idea, and then research and what school tried, what was good, what was not good. See their evaluations. That's why evidence-based practice means, and we gotta research how they do. And then articulate was a program philosophy. This one is a primary, secondary education. That's why K to 12 program history, philosophy. One is elementary and junior high school and high school, like this. Maybe each grade. And develop the curriculum. Third phase is what developing curriculum. How can you do that? And this one is Kentucky academic standard from Kentucky State, and then they analyze the academic standard and specific content area, what the state require, what school require, right? And identify and evaluate and select the high quality instructional resources to support implementations. And create a curriculum document template, okay? And not just saying something and show the template. And by the follow the template, you can add and take out, and it's easy to work together. And what about organize the sequence across the standard? Okay, organize. Okay, this is your first year, second year, third year, and then you're gonna see the sequences and organize all things. What about the grade level course curriculum support? And, first grade, second grade, and freshman, sophomore depends on their major, and depends on the academic level, right? For the primary, and then implement and monitor the curriculum. Okay, we made a curriculum. I think this is the best for us, and let's implement, stage it, and set the implementation goals, and provide ongoing professional learning, and get data to monitor progress, and then analyze data, make adjustment. That's kind of implant and evaluation, and then try to keep adjust the program curriculum. That's how to develop. That gives us some basic idea. So I already told you, maybe you could use it for the primary education or secondary and adult education, different, but use such a kind of basic principles. Okay, so when you design the curriculums, and there is you gotta consider. There's a basic principles here, and first of all, balanced. Just think about a lot of different curriculums, and we already talked about, and how can achieve our academic goal through providing balanced curriculums, right? Not to focus on the written, and how can you provide and hidden curriculum, how can we provide in extra curriculums? What about the rigorous? And there's a lot of individual difference. Who achieve a lot and fast, and how can we, there's a balance too. It's too laid back, or to kind of active and rigorous. And what about coherent? Each class is related in curriculum, or just totally different things. Coherent is a kind of logically, each level has provided this standard of education is coherent. And there's a vertically, meaning that just lay out all things, each grade level is, and it's integrated, program is integrated. put together, right? And it's appropriated. Just someone is in this level and it's relevant to relevant to them. And what about focused? Each class has a different focus, and each stage, right? Even the vertical and what is the focus of this class? At least they need to learn what they need to learn in this class. There is a focus related to the really objectivities and relevancy, right? It's really appropriate and it's really relevant to the student, what they learn. That is a key principle that when you design the class and then remember, right? Not just we gotta do this one, but it's balanced. It's balanced, right? The education needs to holistically help kind of student to achieve their academic goals, right? There is kind of different programs, curriculums. When you design the programming, there's a different approaches here, and this one typical outcome-based program is a kind of curriculum, or the typical content-based curriculum, and it's easy to understand. Maybe you consider no, then what's a content-based curriculum like school educations, formal school education, but was outcome-based education. So, we have to make this outcome. It's flexible, and then was rigorous and make sure, right? Like, just think about it, education to teach specific skills. You gotta learn it. If you don't learn, and then you fail. It's a different one. And another one is I learned about backward design, and that is just a lot of schools adopted this methodology, and then there is kind of identify desired outcome. What is the outcome we want to make already in education? And that's the first stage, and and then determine the acceptable evidence. Okay, outcome is there, and then we gotta cursor which one is really good or not good. Right? Outcome is here, but we need to provide education, and then what's a good sign, what's a not good sign, what's a specific indicator there. So we gotta make specific indicators, and then planning, plan learning experience and instruction. And then we gotta provide what kind of material is there, and then that's a design way. How can you do that? Right, backward designs, and there is processes there, and then already a 3 process, and then there's a basic template I already attached to the class, and then you can see that one, right? But this design really emphasize outcome based learning, and but it's not what really desired as a result. And it was pretty interesting. I made kind of a 12-week discipleship program, whether I was thinking about, and it's not easy though. It was the class was a cross-cultural teaching, also cross-cultural education, curriculum design, something like that. And then, it was really hard because sometimes the language is the really hardest part. And then I think if I express that way, maybe they understand what I intended, in the way that I intended. But sometimes, no, this is not this level, and you gotta use that one and that one. So it's not it was not easy, but it's really helpful. So, and I what is my desired outcome, and then I think about what is the courses, and you gotta write down, and then it's a really good things about. It doesn't work with the PowerPoint, but you have in the notes, right? Template is there. Another thing is that you got to do assessment. Assessment, how can you evaluate the curriculums? Always. So curriculum assessment is a process of gathering and analyzing information from the multiple sources in order to improve student learning. It's not only for your perspective. Sometimes administrator perspective is a little bit different. It's related to administration, right? And sometimes teacher's perspective is different. Sometimes, and the student perspective different. We need all. So sometimes outsider, when coming to NCAA programs, and sometimes NCAA material that teachers need, and sometimes they can come into class and they can observe the class, and we can invite outsider. So there is a curriculum assessment can serve several major purpose. What is the purpose? And first of all, to identify aspects of the curriculum that are working or not, and those that need to change. If you don't, if you're not effective, you gotta change it. Okay, if it worked, and then keep going on. What is the program say? If you added something and it's more rigorous and effective, and you're gonna kind of adjust like this. And assess the effectiveness of changes that have already been made. Okay, effectiveness. Okay, on the way maybe you gotta evaluate and change, but how is it effective? What about demonstrate the effectiveness of current programs? Adjust and then later on just the program, how effective, and then to meet the regular program review requirement. Sometimes we miss something, and then if we don't have any evaluation, we don't know what we are doing right, and we are skipping something, or we don't know, right? And to satisfy professional accreditations. So our education is not it's not that good. You cannot get accredited. And then even though I graduate from this school, but who knows? They don't give you credit like that. There is a certain level of education meet the standard, and then provide certain standard of education. So when it is effective, the curriculums efforts are generally effective. When and curriculum assessment. the view as the comprehensive, integral, systematic, and continuous activity. Each not a small things is the whole pictures. And then it's the curriculum assessments are very effective. Just think about whole forest, not individual trees. What about viewed as a means of self-improvement? It's not criticized, but how can we better like this? And measure are meaningful. It's not a meaningful, maybe just a typical way that we can do, but if they want to how to really make the program better, curriculum better, and it's really meaningful, and then it's effective. Multiple measures also are used, not just for the from the administration. This relates to admin work, administrative work. It's not a whole different perspective. You can see result valued and generally used to improve programs and progress and involved in participation and input of faculty, staff, and students. Yeah. So a lot, just think about and different ways that we can evaluate our program, assess our program. So maybe a lot of different ways that you can use it, survey, and you can have some focus group that evaluate, and then interviews, and then maybe depart from meetings, and they talk, and a lot of different ways. So try to make assessment not just one thing, but it's a better way to make more dynamic, variety way that. Variety ways to see the programs and curriculums, and then maybe we can have a more realistic objectives and assessment evaluation, and then we can make better programs. Today we are talking about the curriculums, and then how can we put all the curriculum is a kind of direction. So how can we put all materials in the programs? Maybe there is not a specific topics there. Maybe you don't know what books, what material you want to use, but you can kind of roadmap is provided from the curriculums. So, but remember that always different when what is your philosophy and aims and object goals and objectivities. Without that one, we cannot see any direction. And then what about the principle of your development, right? And I hope that it helped you. And then I don't know when you are that is education, part of education. Before we come into classroom and then we learn something, but this is part of programs, and then part of what you need and what you need like this. Sometimes it's kind of what level is it there? The previous level and next level is what you can get when you see it. Okay, so thank you for being with me, and then I hope that it helped you about learning about the program to carry out the goal of your education. So I hope that you can use